What's going on? What's going on? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? It's your brother outside the Qube. And yes, we are back. We are back. I wanted to cover today a debate by the brother Marquette and also the brother Mysonne. They had a spirited debate. I want to say I listened to about an hour of it. It was a pretty cool debate, and I wanted to review it just so I can clean up a few things. Um, that mainly Marquette was saying because he's most certainly he claims to be a capitalist, so he has a capitalist mindset, and he claims to be a capitalist. But I definitely wanted to inject my thoughts and ideas into it, and we could definitely go with that. I covered this brother recently. Um, well, I don't know if it was recent, but it was most certainly once upon a time when him and was it Destiny, they were debating, and Destiny cooked him, and yeah. So I wouldn't say my son cooked him, but I will say that he dismantled Marquette's arguments. I will say that. I would say he most certainly won a debate if there is a winner and loser to be had. I will say that he won. Peace. What's going on, Indigenous Black man? So yeah, without any further ado, let's get into it.
I think this will be a very polite conversation. Let's go ahead and show you guys the background on how we came to have this conversation, and then we're going to go ahead and get into it. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to play you guys the clip, and then we'll read through the comment that was made. I think you actually had a few comments. I only saw the one that you, or rather, I only read the one you replied directly to me, but I'll check out the other one because I saw your name on there. But let's see if we can get this played from the beginning. In the audience, if you'd be kind enough to populate an alpha 1 into the chat to confirm that you can hear the video as it plays. Black family. So some people say, oh, you don't understand, you're well off. I'm like, look, man, I really came from the mud. Like, I was poorer than the other poor kids because my mom was on dope when I was a young boy. My father was in prison doing 10 for selling dope. So I really come from the mud. And one of the things I have to admit is that, well, damn, if you can still afford to use drugs while you on SNAP, maybe if they took away the SNAP, you'd use that hustle you used to purchase those drugs to cover the base.
And I just want to say this, out the gate. I find it interesting how he says how his father was, in prison doing 10 years, for selling dope or whatever the case may be. But he never tells us, or gives us the redemption arc, if there even was one. He kind of just moves on to something else, which is interesting because, when a person has a redemption arc, or if, but I guess maybe it would take away from his point if he did mention the redemption arc, because he's trying to make himself look like he came from nothing. And maybe he did, I don't know, but he's trying to make himself look like he came from nothing. But, if it was a situation to where his father got out of prison, and he lived a life of a middle-class family, he'll never let you know that. But I just always find that interesting when people never mention the redemption arc that, people in their family, loved ones or parents had.
Basics, just maybe. And if not, if you're actually in a tribe, we'll be forced to take care of each other. There'll be necessity. They say necessity is the mother of invention. What we need to invent is the Black family because it's currently dead. So, of course, my heart goes out to people who are struggling, but I think mostly they're not struggling as much as they think they're struggling. And
so his heart goes out to people who are struggling, but fuck you is pretty much what he said. And get off of SNAP benefits because he thinks that's the thing that's causing issue in the Black community.
SNAP has destroyed Black families. So some people say, oh, you don't understand, you're well off. I'm like, look, man, I really came from the mud. Cool. So that was the actual video. We'll discuss later what was actually said in the video because some people have erected a straw man that they're arguing against. But first, let's look at the comments that were made, particularly by the gentleman. I'll let him read his if the characters are big enough for him to see, but I'll read mine. The gentleman can read his, and then we'll go from there. Thank you for the platform, Willie D. And shout out to Willie D, by the way. I wrote, sad to see some Black folks arguing for government benefits, subsistence, instead of trying to figure out how we can really thrive. We shouldn't want SNAP. We should want wealth and power. Anyone who wants to discuss on live, DM.
See, and I find that problematic. I find that extremely problematic because he's saying, shame on people who wants their government to do what their government should be doing. Shame on you. Meanwhile, you have Elon Musk, who gets hundreds of millions of dollars, up to billions of dollars, to fund his projects that he wants to do, to where he never really truly ever has to work. And this happens across the gamut to where whatever billionaire or millionaire it is that they get these benefits from the government, but because you're receiving $200 a month in SNAP benefits, he looks at that like it's a black eye on Black families in the Black community. I beg to differ.
Okay, and you want to read that one? You able to see that?
I said the government gives more benefits to billionaires than it does poor Blacks. Most of the people on SNAP truly need it and have raised successful children who've been able to create generational wealth. Your comparison is just false. There are so many people who fell to drugs that weren't even on SNAP.
Okay, very good. And you had another comment. We'll address that one later. So we'll just start with this one. And I got a bunch of screens up here, so do forgive me. But I want to make our faces larger, and we'll take it piece by piece. So I'll engage the rebuttal right here. I got my pen and paper out too. So the government gave more benefits to billionaires than it does to poor Blacks. Now, right there, we agree there. Oh, absolutely. In fact, I would forward the idea that the government is a tool of the wealthy, and that's mostly what every government is.
Well, that's problematic because you're only saying that the government is a tool of the wealthy because it's helping the wealthy more. But if the government was actually doing what it was supposed to be doing, was to be a tool for the people, it would also be able to help wealthy people and help poor people as well as all people. But that's not what the government is doing here in America. We can look at the government in other places around the world and see that their governments operate differently than our government here. So the only reason you can say, well, the government is a tool of the wealthy is because the way how our system is set up, our government is allowed to be bought out. Our Senate members, our House of Representative members, they're allowed to be bought out to where they then push the agenda for places like the NRA, other companies who dirty up our air, dirty up our water, put GMOs into our food that fuck us over. So that's the only reason that you're saying that now. But had the government was doing what it was supposed to be, which was supposed to be made up by people for the people, not just the wealthy, you wouldn't be able to say that.
So there's that. So are we agreed that the government is a tool of the wealthy?
Peace. What's going on? We got Ed Barber in here. We got Thendo with the extendo. We got Nana Asado. Peace. What's going on, man? Let me drop one of these for my brother.
Ain't no fucking way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
You already know. Shouts out. Let's get back into it.
Yes.
All right, fair enough. All right, so we're on the same page there. So carrying on to the next point, the gentleman writes, most people on SNAP truly need it. So that's not even the whole sentence, but that's the first piece, which I actually disagree with that. And so I think we have a fundamental disagreement there.
Well, hold on. We can't do that. You can't disagree with that when you say, when the statement is said, most people on SNAP, they truly need it. when in actuality they do truly need it, because we have a capitalist system that allows corporations to not pay people, to where they then have to appropriate funds and get funds from the government so they can sustain their lives. So let me give you an example, which I've given to you before. So you could take Walmart. Walmart doesn't pay their workers enough money. So what happens when Walmart doesn't pay their workers enough money? Then they have to go get on food stamps, SNAP benefits, and stuff like that. And then what they do is they take those same SNAP food stamps, and then they go purchase from Walmart. So Walmart is double dipping. And on top of that, Walmart is getting approximately $10,000 for every person that they hire that lives under poverty. So instead of Walmart giving their employees that $10,000, they pocket the money. You see what I'm saying? So no, they do need this money.
Tell me more about when you say most people on SNAP truly need it.
Well, when you talk about most people that are on SNAP, they're truly elderly. They are incapacitated, injured. They have injuries where they can't work. There are some people who just are.
Well, hold on. Let's just get into the numbers real quick, because I pulled this up. So if we just look at the numbers and we look here, it says in the fiscal year 2024, an average of 41.7 million people receive SNAP benefits. Now, why is it do we see from 1970 all the way to current day, we see this constant increase of people who need it? You want to know why? It's because we see corporate profits being more and them not keeping up with paying their employees what they're owed. Because if corporations were actually paying their employees, then you wouldn't have people on SNAP benefits and food stamps. You wouldn't see this. But we see the inequality continues to rise, so of course you're going to have people on food stamps that's going to continue to rise. Secondly, when we take a look here, it says here, let me blow this up a little bit. It says SNAP benefits. This is a USDA report, provides a picture of who participates in SNAP. SNAP targets those in greatest need. Among those participants in the program, most are children, elderly persons, or individuals with a disability. In fact, 86% of all SNAP benefits go to households that include a child, an elderly person, or persons with disability. Exactly what the brother Mysonne just said. In addition, about 92% of all SNAP benefits go to households with income at or below the federal poverty line. So what is that telling you? That tells you that, yes, they are receiving income and they are gainfully employed, but they don't make enough to pay for food. They have just enough money to pay their rent, keep their lights on, maybe be able to pay a car payment, and things of that nature, but they just don't have the benefit of paying to get food every month. And if we're being honest, if you look at the money that SNAP actually gives you, it's not really enough to it's barely enough to get you by. Like, niggas ain't taking SNAP benefits and food stamps and going out and buying fucking $50 and $60 steaks and filet mignon and stuff like that. Like, that's not happening. You getting Walmart Great Value brand food. Like, it forces you into that lower level of getting the worst food. You're not sitting there spending your SNAP benefits on getting all organic, free-range chicken and shit like that. You're not getting that. You're getting the cheapest stuff that you can get because you're limited even with the SNAP benefits that you get. So Marquette is trying to make it seem like, oh, people don't have to be on it. I think it's BS and it's hurting black families Well, no, it's actually helping black families. Because if certain families didn't have it, then they would have to get it another way. And that's the last thing you want is a bunch of people that cannot eat. What do you think they're going to do to get food? What do you think?
Are highly uneducated and don't have the resources to actually work to where they can make a livable wage. And those are realities, right? And what happens is I come from a family like that, right?
Well, let me just pause what my son just said. He said, a lot of people that are receiving SNAP benefits are people who are highly uneducated. No, that has nothing to do with it if you're highly uneducated. That has nothing to do with it. If you're working a job 40 hours a week, what is stopping the company that you work for that are raking in record profits every single year and the CEO is making $40-50 million a year? What's stopping that company from paying you a livable wage to where you don't have to be on SNAP? So it has nothing to do with education whatsoever, because we can go, history is our friend. We can go back to the 40s and 50s and we can see people working regular jobs without this extensive education. And guess what? They were still able to take care of their families on one income. But then when you introduce neoliberalism in the 70s, now what do you have? You have to have the husband and wife working. Then when you fast forward and then the inequality increases and you're in 2025, you have the husband and the wife working and you have to start doing gig jobs like DoorDash and Instacart and stuff like that just to be able to take care of your family. So it has nothing to do with education. It has everything to do with capitalism, neoliberalism, and them extracting resources from the poorest people in America. That's all it is. That's literally all it is.
My mother wasn't able to make a wage that was able to sustain 2 children. And when she started out on welfare, she started out on SNAP, on welfare, with getting benefits, was going to school at the same time, right? She was utilizing the system like most other ethnicities do. When we talk about, SNAP, we only represent 25% of the people that are on SNAP for Black people. So when we're having these conversations, I know a lot of people that I know who are successful, who parents were on welfare, right? And it motivated them to never want to be on welfare. And their parents didn't say, hey, this is a tool that you utilize, that you're supposed to be on welfare. I'm on welfare right now because I don't have the resources. I didn't get the education. I didn't have all of the access to wealth that someone else.
Education does not bar you or stop you from being on food stamps. Education doesn't do that. Right now, we see so many people losing their jobs, and what they're trying to blame it on is AI, but we see so many people losing their jobs. What do you think is happening to these people when, their severance package, is going to paying their rent? How do you think these people are feeding themselves and subsidizing themselves? They're using food stamps and SNAP benefits. So education does not mean that it grants you some kind of gold card to where you could just slide it and then you're just going to be good forever. No, education is not that. My generation was lied to. In my generation, millennials, they told us, go to school, get a good job, you'll be all right. When we look at the economy today, that's not what it is. That's why I would never tell my daughter that bullshit. I would never tell my daughter, oh, go to school, get an education, and get a good job, and you're going to be all right, and you're going to make it. No, the fuck, that does nothing for you. You have to be one of the lucky ones, and you have to be so lucky that you're in a position to where AI doesn't take your fucking job. Or the company just gets rid of your position. So having education does not insulate you from anything in this country. It doesn't insulate you from anything. And we have to stop saying that. And I don't know if this brother's from my generation, but it sounds like he was told that same shit because he's repeating it over and over.
But I'm giving you the resources, and right now this is what put foods on your table. So when you go to school, I need you to study harder so that you don't have to be in this position. So I think for me, when you say that it ruined the black community, I say a lot of us were products of Snap, and it made us want more. You know, I know a lot of people, there are a lot of people that I know that in college who graduated top of their class, who parents came from welfare. Even if you look at athletes, most of the athletes, you know, they'll tell you their stories where their parents didn't have anything. They started out on welfare. They had cheese sandwiches. They were on the cheese lines. They were getting the butter. They were going to free lunch, free dinner, you know, and it motivated them to do more than their parents did. And their parents did the best they could. So when you say that it destroyed the black community, I just don't believe that in full.
Did I say that Snap destroyed the black community?
Well, what exactly did you say?
The message is that Snap is destructive to the black family and the black future.
See, when niggas want to play games like this and you want to try to draw little lines and say, well, the black family is different from the black community, come on, bro. You know what he's talking about. The black family belongs to the black community. And we go higher up that structure, the black community belongs to America, so forth and so on. So you know what he's trying to say, but he's trying to be pedantic about it to make it sound like he's making a greater point, but you aren't making a greater point. Because even if you substitute the word black community for black culture, black family, you get the same results. Like, stop that, bro. I don't get why people do that.
And
I'm saying, what did you say? That's not, those weren't the words.
Sure, we'll play it back. We'll play it back. Like, I was poorer than the other poor kids because my mom was on dope when I was a young boy. My father was in prison doing 10 for selling dope.
So you were poorer than the other poor kids. And was that a family issue or was that a black community issue? That was a black community issue. You weren't just poor by yourself. Everybody where you grew up were poor. That was the black community. Everybody was poor. So he's trying to section it off like, oh, no, I'm talking about the black family. Nigga, your family wasn't just poor. If you went to your neighbors, to your left, to your right, to across the street, everybody was poor. That's the black community, nigga. That ain't your goddamn family. What are you talking about?
So I really come from the mud. And one of the things I have to admit is that, well, damn, if you can still afford to use drugs while you on Snap, maybe if they took away the Snap, you'd use that hustle you used to purchase those drugs to cover the basics, just maybe. And if not, if you're actually in a tribe, you know, we'll be forced to take care of each other. There'll be necessity. They say necessity is the mother of invention. What we need to invent is the black family because it's currently dead. So, of course, my heart goes out to people who are struggling, but I think mostly they're not struggling as much as they think they're struggling. And Snap has destroyed black families. Okay, right. So here's the difference. You stated that I said Snap has destroyed the black community.
Okay,
I said Snap has destroyed the black family. And those are two different things. Number one, there's no such thing as the black community.
They're not two different things. They're all encompassing. They're all encompassing. When you're talking about the black family, by extension, you're talking about the black community. Now, if this was just a one-off and this only affected you, then you could say it destroyed my black family. You can say it destroyed my black family, but it wasn't happening to you in a fucking vacuum. It was happening across the gamut of black people, hence the word community. So fuck what you said. Let's just dig deeper and get to the point, which is the black community. It wasn't your black family that was redlined and left out. It wasn't your black family that was only held in slavery for fucking 287 years. No, nigga, it was the black community. And this is why us as a people, we struggle because of all of those things. When you look at all of these compounding things, it's not just your family. Your family is a product of the black community, which is a product of white hegemony. That's what the fuck it is. Nigga, stop playing with words. Like, nigga, come on, bro. Like I don't know. He thinks he's talking to someone unintelligent, and I don't know a lot about Mysonne. But like, come on, bro, you can't just chump everybody off as they're just stupid and don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Those two things mean the same goddamn thing, unless you're saying this is indicative of my family. Okay.
Unity, and we can explain that another time. But the Black family, there's no doubt that SNAP has been a part of the destruction of such. When you look at the data in terms of Blacks getting greater access to SNAP benefits, we see that there has been an inverse correlation.
Hold on. This is the last time I'm even going to bring this up. Do you notice how he just what he just did? He wants to talk about the Black family, but then he says Blacks, meaning the Black community, having access to SNAP. Check this out. He wants to say family, but then he says Blacks, but he really means by Blacks is the Black community. Check this out. Listen to him carefully.
Has been a part of the destruction of such. When you look at the data in terms of Blacks getting greater access.
Blacks getting greater access. What do you mean when you say Blacks getting greater access to SNAP? What do you mean by that? Do you mean your family or do you mean the Black community? I just want to show y'all how much of a bullshit artist he is. When he says Blacks getting access to SNAP, he's not just talking about his family, he's talking about the Black community. But then when Mysonne uses the word Black community, he wants to try to get away from that word and say, and try to make it seem like he's talking about the Black family. Nigga, stop. We too intelligent for that over here, bro.
To SNAP benefits, we see that there has been an inverse correlation in terms of the Black man being in the household and being at the helm of the family. So it has driven more instances of illegitimate families, fatherless children, unprotected mothers. And in fact, there's a study that points out that while on SNAP benefits, a woman is less likely to actually get married. And then when that same woman gets off of SNAP benefits, the likelihood of marrying shoots up.
That's a bullshit study, and I'm going to tell you why. That's a bullshit study, and I'm going to tell you why. Because poorer people are less likely to get married. Because a lot of times what it takes to get married is resources. So if you take a person, a woman, as he said, you take a Black woman who's on SNAP benefits, she's on welfare, she's less likely to get married than a woman making $150,000 a year. Why is that? Because the woman making $150,000 a year, she has resources to do these things. Whereas a person who's on SNAP benefits and welfare, they're not thinking about marriage. They have live-in husbands, all of this type of shit, because it's easy, it's cheaper that way. It's cheaper for poor people to just have live-in boyfriends, live-in husbands, shit like that. It is cheaper that way. Like, come on, bro.
And that's because the government has been positioned where the Black man would have been. So it's destructive. And I'll ask you this. Do you think that the short term is more important in general or the long term is more important? Which would you say is more important?
It's always the long term.
Always the long term. We agree there. And my discussion, my ideas that I share, the system of thinking that I promote, and the revolution that I'm currently waging is for the long term. And there can be no birth without pain. The truth of the matter is that, did you know there was a time when Black women had a higher marriage rate than white women? But now it's flipped around. And both are increasingly becoming single mothers. But the fact of the matter is it can be directly tied.
So hold on. So he just killed himself with his own stat. So once upon a time, Black people, like he doesn't even understand what he's talking about. So once upon a time, Black people were married at a higher clip than white people. But now it's starting for white women and white people, it's starting to come down. Why is that? Does that have anything to do with more and more and more white people being poor? Yes, it has everything to do with that. More white people are starting to be poor so they can no longer live out these fucking fantasies and this bullshit of getting married and having $30,000-$40,000 fucking marriage. No. And they're starting to be affected by the same thing that was introduced to the black community. Same shit. So this same thing that they're now being introduced to that was meant for us is now boomeranging and fucking the white community over the same way it did us. The same way it did us. You want to say black people, they had a coke habit. They had a crack habit back in the day. Well, look at what's happening to the white community. They on that meth. The motherfuckers on them amphetamines. They're screwed up. And it's increasing. So he's trying to make it seem like this is just happening and like there's no rhyme or reason. No, there is a reason why these things are happening. Because they are becoming poorer and poorer. This is why Donald Trump feeds to his white racist base. Oh, it's the Mexicans. It's the brown people. It's the blacks. We got to get all of these people out of the country. These are the people that's causing everything that's happening to you. They're the ones that's causing it. They're not talking about why you're getting poorer. They're not looking at the CEOs because a lot of these white motherfuckers are so stupid. They're not looking at the CEOs of the same companies that they work for getting richer and richer and them getting poorer and poorer. They're not looking at that shit. Because what white people have always operated under is them. Let me explain that. Controlling white people for white people is very easy. The white people at the top, they can easily control white people under them. All they have to do is give them a them. So they used to be able to say, yo, look, it's them. It's those black people. They're the reason why you don't have this. They're the reason why you don't have that. Then the KKK arises. Now, the new them is, oh, the Mexicans, the Indians, they're coming to this country. They're taking your jobs. All of this other bullshit. It's misdirection. The white people on the top is doing everything that they can so the white people on the bottom won't look at them. How the fuck is it possible that the CEO of Starbucks makes $98 million a fucking year, but his employees are on food stamps? The CEO of fucking Walmart makes fucking $90 million a fucking year, but his employees are on food stamps, which they turn around and pay them. They do everything they can to misdirect white folk. So fill them with hate, and it's always them. Nigga, the reason why you have coffee in season, out of season, the reason why you have bananas in season, out of season, tomatoes in season, out of season, is because of everybody else, the poor workers around the world, which America exploits. That's the reason you have this shit. What the fuck is you doing in New York City with guacamole? You shouldn't be eating no goddamn avocados or guacamole or having goddamn tomatoes in New York City, but you have it every time you want a burger, don't you? What are you doing with pickles on your goddamn burger? Sauerkraut, all of this shit that does not grow. A lot of this stuff, coffee doesn't even grow in America, but you have it every time you go to the grocery store, right? But you want to blame other people as that they're making you poor? They're taking from you? Stop it. Get some help.
To those SNAP benefits we call them today, but before we just used to call it welfare, and that's been the destruction of the black family.
Well, I think what we're correlating is two different things. I think the black family, right? I think what I realized, right, that throughout history and me listening to women, just having conversations with the black women, there was a time where there was a family unit that wasn't really secure. That woman was staying out of desperation. There was no love. There was no unity. There are Black children that were born in households. There was no love, that they didn't even see passion between parents. There are Black children that said that they wish that the parents that they had probably would have been separated because.
He's 100% right about that. He's 100% right. Where do you think the phrase "it's cheaper to keep her" came from? It's cheaper to keep her. Because if I was on my own, it'd be more difficult for me to take care of a family. I'm a single father. I can tell you, shit is hard, nigga. It's cheaper to keep a woman around who's gonna pay half for the bills, who's gonna take half for the goddamn load. This is what he's talking about. And a lot of those instances, you had, bro, perfect example. Perfect example. I grew up never knowing my father, right? My homeboy, he was like, yo, you know, he told me one time, he was like, yo, Q, if you probably knew your father, you probably would hate that motherfucker and not give a fuck about him. I'm like, damn, why you say that? He was like, man, my father came from the war and shit, and that nigga just wasn't the same. He said, I just ain't like the motherfucker. He just, you know, sit around and drink beer all day. Wouldn't do shit. So in a lot of these situations, you have the children who look at it like, man, I don't even want this other half. Whether it be the mother or the father who ain't carrying their weight. They yell at the kids all fucking day. Don't treat them nice. Like, that's what he's talking about. And these situations do exist. Before women had the rights that they have, man, these women would be getting beat up, spit on, all type of shit. But they had to stay because they couldn't divorce their husbands. They had to stay. And the kids would see that shit, that their mother was getting beat on by these men. But now women can leave. He doesn't want the woman to leave. Even if she has to struggle. No, I would never want my daughter in a situation like that. If you gotta leave, leave. Because that's going to stop me from spending the rest of my goddamn life in prison for killing this nigga. Please leave. Please leave, because I do not want to spend the rest of my life in prison for this nigga putting his hands on you. Please leave and don't go back.
Because the mother staying out of desperation because she didn't have need didn't create or foster love in a family. I think what happened now, and because I can say that accurately because I know parents, when we were on welfare, my father didn't have a job, right? But what he did was he went to get a job to get us off of welfare. I think that any man who loves his family is not leaving his household for SNAP benefits. I know that there's this ideology and this myth that Black men left the house because you couldn't be in the household because you couldn't get the SNAP benefits. But my father would leave when the.
And I'm glad he brought that up because that's a huge myth. That's a huge myth. This is why at the beginning I was saying, well, hold on, why did Marquette talk about the redemption arc of his father? Because if I was one of those fathers, when I got out of prison or whatever the case may be, I'm going to try to improve my situation as best I could. But even if I can't, I'm going to be in my child's life. He's trying to make it seem like, oh man, black women are less likely to get married if they're on food stamps. So what? If me and my child's or children's mother are living in the same household, so what? What does it matter? We in the same crib. We taking care of bills.
The welfare person came, he would leave, put his little stuff in the corner, and when they came, he came back. And what he did was he made sure he left the house and he went and got a job until we didn't need welfare anymore. He didn't abandon his family. He didn't abandon his wife. He didn't abandon his children. And most men of honor and any level of integrity that I know didn't leave his family for SNAP benefits. There's no man who loves his family that just leaves his family for family.
Right. Imagine a woman Imagine the woman that you with, she's getting those little 100, like back in the 70s or the 80s, she's getting like $100, $150 and goddamn food stamps. And she wants to put the man out because she's saying, oh, I could do better by myself. That's bullshit. Women weren't thinking like that, bro. That's a trope. That's a myth. That's not real. Women understood that, hey, it's better if me and my child or children's father can get along and we can be in peace. Why should I kick him to the curb over $150 worth of goddamn food stamps when he's more valuable? He's way more valuable than $150 in food stamps. Even if we have to struggle a little bit, he's still more valuable for the time that he spends with the children, to the knowledge that he can impart on the children. What are you talking about? They try to talk about black people like we're some kind of fucking animals or something. No woman was just kicking niggas out just like, oh, just get out, your little $800 that you bringing home, a month don't mean shit. I'm just gonna take this $150 in food stamps. What? That's a non-starter.
For SNAP benefits. So what I think has happened is that there were families that probably were broken from the beginning because there was a hierarchy. There was, because I have conversations with men, like you had a conversation I seen on your conversation where there was a man saying, if we could have a conversation and you say something and you sound like a man and I hit you in the mouth, I didn't abuse you, you just lost the fight. And that mentality is toxic. And no woman should have.
Oh, my son, you hit me with this white liberal female talk.
I didn't say it's toxic masculinity. I'm saying that mentality. I don't speak like a female. And I think when we talk to men, we can't talk to men and say that they talking like females, because we started off saying something, we're gonna talk with respect. I'm talking to you like a man. Yes. I've never done anything like a female. Everything.
No, I'm not saying you're talking like a female. I'm saying the ideology is
it's not ideology.
White feminist liberalism.
No, what I'm trying to tell you, I've been in.
No, he is saying that Mysonne is talking like a female. That's exactly what he's saying. He's alluding to his talking points. He gets them from females, so in essence, you're talking like a female. Simple as that. So he is saying that, but Mysonne is like, no. But what Marquette is trying to do, he's trying to say, oh, these are white women, white liberal talking points, when in actuality they aren't. They're just not. And he doesn't know enough, because if he did, he would understand where these talking points come from. But let's continue.
Man, I'm almost 50 years old, and I've been around men my whole life, men of honor. I've been in jail around killers. I've been in jail around the most notorious men in the world, and none of them think putting your hand on a woman because she says something that you don't agree with is masculine or strong. So I'm trying to tell you, there's an ideology that certain men have that think because a woman doesn't abide by your rules and you pay the rules, that you have the ability to abuse her. So what happened? Do
you mind if I address some of the things you said, because you're kind of going on to a different topic at this point?
Peace. Shout out to Gary Moore, Rock Evan. Did I miss anybody? 369. Shouts out to y'all, man. Peace. Hit the like button.
Let me just finish. So what I'm trying to say is, when you talk about that SNAP benefits broke up the home, it wasn't that SNAP benefits broke up the home. There was a level of independence that women had in toxic relationships that made them believe that I don't have to be around a man who thinks because I say something he don't likes and he hits me in the mouth that I lost the fight.
I'm just making some notes here. Okay. So I would challenge that a number of the things you have articulated are speculative, they're anecdotal, they diverge from logic, and they're very much so.
Hold on, you say water repeat. What you mean, like you hear an echo or something? You say water repeat. Is there an echo? I hope there's not an echo. Yeah, tell me what you mean by that before I continue, because if there's an echo, I want to fix it. What you mean? Yeah, I can't be an echo. Somebody would have told me that by now. Somebody would have told me that.
What feels good, what sounds good, and what's emotional. And the reason that I say that is because you noted that Black people represent 25% of SNAP benefits recipients. And I know you said that because I wrote it down. Now, that actually doesn't make sense in as much as Black people in America, and I'm not talking about the foundational Black American, because I think that they're more so like 10%, but Black people, which would be inclusive of Haitians and all of these other groups that have a different ethnic background. But Black people represent 13%. So they're nearly twice, they're at 200% of the representation they should be at, kind of similar to prisons. And you spoke about that earlier. You know, we're 13% of the...
See, his line of thinking is so backwards, because if he's talking about, okay, well, we're 25% who's represented in the recipients of SNAP benefits. Okay, well, where are we as 13% of the population, where are we represented when it comes to poverty? I'm sure it would also be, we would be overrepresented, and it would be double. So he's not asking the question of why is this the case? He's looking at it and saying, this, you shouldn't be on SNAP, you shouldn't be on welfare. That's all he's saying. He's not trying to figure out why are Black people so overrepresented and what do we do to fix it. He's just saying you just shouldn't be on welfare. And that's like in the story. In the story. Not gonna look into why these things are happening, who caused these things, you know, none of that. You're just overrepresented. This is the same thing white folks do when they say, oh, man, when it comes to arrests, Black people are arrested, 20 times more than other people, but they never look at the other side of the picture. Like, it's just crazy that he would use this in an argument. It just tells me that he's just not as educated as he wants to come off as.
The U.S. population, but a much higher percentage of the prison population were overrepresented. I think there's a very reasonable story that you could articulate in both cases, but what is certain is that we're overrepresented in a bad way and it's detrimental. So you stated that as though it was a good thing that we're 25% of the...
No, he never stated it as a good thing. He was just pointing out a fact. Like, yo, this dude is something else, bro. I would love to debate this dude here, man. Like, in a setting like this to where we can both have equal time to speak, I would love to debate this dude, like, on a topic, because he's uninformed to the highest. Like, it's crazy.
Welfare benefits as opposed to us being representative, which would be 13%. I yield the floor for a rebuttal to that.
Well, basically, if we're talking about wealth in America, we only represent 3% of the wealth in America, right? So if we look at communities where Blacks inhabit majorly, most of those are poor communities, right? So if we're in the poorest communities, then more likely we're going to need the most assistance. So the fact that we only represent 25% of it and everybody represents more than that, the whites represent about 40% of it, and they represent 70% of the population, and they represent 83% of the wealth, right? So that there's also a correlation. So what happens is when you look at the other people who are on SNAP benefits, they've utilized SNAP to their ability, right? If you look at the Jewish population, they are one of the highest, also a high population on SNAP benefits. They utilize the housing of the SNAP benefits. They utilize the housing. They figure out how do they get free housing, and they also own their own communities within the communities they live in, and they also figure out how do they benefit off it. So what I think is what we haven't learned is how to benefit off of using the state's money, like the billionaires have, right? They call and they say we're bankrupt, right? We have our money, but we're not going to spend our money. So we want you to give us your money, and we're going to continue to make more money. I use the example of Rich Dad Poor Dad. The rich people figure out how to use OPM, right? And that is a form of government assistance. So if Black people were in our communities and we were taught how to utilize the government assistance, right? We were taught how to utilize SNAP benefits. Right now, they're trying to stop us from doing that. Right now, there's a crackdown because the lady brought cakes, right? She brought cake mix with her SNAP benefits and began selling cakes. Everyone else in other communities.
Yeah, I heard about that story to where there was a woman who, she was receiving SNAP benefits. She took the benefits, she started buying like cookies and candy and stuff like that and started selling it, to try to make some money, and that's looked down upon, which, I'm kind of in the middle on that, but I can understand why they would say, hey, you can't do that. This is supposed to be used to subsidize, you and your family. But at the same time, if I can use that money to make more for me and my family, and I clearly need it, then I don't have a problem with that, But you still have to ask the question, why is she on SNAP in the first place? And that's a place where people, they don't want to go. They don't want to delve into why people are on SNAP in the first place.
Utilize the SNAP benefits and they double and triple those benefits. Everyone else uses government assistance to double and triple and make money off of it. They are intentionally trying to keep Black.
See, we can't get into that type of rhetoric to where, well, everybody does this and everybody does that. Nah, we can't get into that type of rhetoric. We look foolish when we say, well, these people are doing this and these people are doing that. Nah, we don't want to get into that type of rhetoric. Because if a group of people or peoples are doing something that's illegal or whatever the case, it doesn't mean that we should go and do something illegal or advocate for that. Like, that's not something, we should be advocating for. Let's instead of saying, hey, you got a cough, let me give you some Robitussin. No. I don't want to suppress your cough to where you don't have to cough anymore, but the problem is still there. Let's get to the problem that's causing you to have this cough and fix that. That way you don't have to get the Robitussin. And that's not something that Marquette is apt to do, in my opinion.
People poor. So I don't think that the SNAP benefits broke up the Black family. I think what broke up the Black family was not understanding how to utilize Black benefits, being targeted in our communities, because they understand that the biggest threat to America is Black unity. The president said that, Nixon said it himself, the biggest threat to America is Black unity. So they've always tried to do that. I think the biggest thing that destroyed the Black family, especially when you look at the time that's most been destroyed, is drugs and crack. Crack was the.
And see, that's another thing that we use too. We use that talking point. The biggest thing to, Black unity. Like, no, bro, no. They want Black unity, but they want us to unify as consumers. That's what the fuck they want, and they've succeeded by doing that. Excuse me. They've succeeded by making us consumers. And we're unified in that. Niggas go out and spend all their money on Black Friday. Then we turn right back around 25 days later. We spend all our money on fucking Christmas. Then we turn right back around, and buy up all the liquor for goddamn New Year's. They've succeeded in turning us into exactly what the fuck they wanted. Because, see, what people have to understand is they locked you out of these things due to racism, and for them to be the ones to make money. But then they figured out, hold on, we can still make money by allowing them in. They treated us like dogs to say, no, we're going to feed you. But then they said, no, we don't have to treat you like dogs. We can just make you anything, anytime you want to eat, anytime you want to sleep, anything that you want, you have to come to us to get it. So I understand he's maybe not talking about the unity that I'm talking about, but with the unity that he's talking about, it's only going to benefit white people in the not empirical, but the imperial power of America. It's only going to do that with the black unity that he's talking about. It's only going to empower the imperial force that is the United States of America. Because we can sit back here and say all day, yeah, if black people just come together, but come together to do what, though? Come together to do what? People want to talk about buying from, let's buy from black businesses. No, that's not finna do a goddamn thing. You're making it easier for the capitalists to poach. So, perfect example. Let's say you don't want to buy tea or coffee from Starbucks or some white company, but a black company starts to make tea and or coffee. And then all black people are buying this coffee, right? What's going to happen when Starbucks says, hey, goes to the owner and says, hey, I'm going to give you $50 million for this brand? What the fuck you think they're going to do? They're going to cash out. They're going to cash out. Just like 50 Cent did, like 20 years ago. Everybody cashes out. Nobody holds on to assets that they don't know if it'll appreciate or depreciate. This is why when you go into the store, go into Walmart right fucking now. Go into Walmart. You see all of these brands. And you look at their parent company, it's only two brands. Pepsi or Coke. All of that shit you buy, it's Pepsi or Coke. Or Coke is the parent companies. Why? Because they saw competition and they gave them an offer they couldn't refuse. So the same thing would happen to black brands. See, as black people, like, this is an old strategy. And it needs to just die off, in my opinion. And we need to stop talking about it. Because we're always trying to fix the symptom, but we never try to fix the thing at the precipice of the goddamn problem. Yes, everybody, go ahead, start your own buses. Everybody start your own buses. Guess what's going to happen? Uber is going to step in and say, hey, you have a good idea there. Let me give you $100 million so we can take it over. We saw the same shit happen with BET, whatever black company, corporation you talking about, it's happened the same way. They get big enough, another bigger fish comes a-calling. That's what happens. So no, it's not about black people coming together. They don't give a fuck about you coming together. They want you to come together so they can co-opt this shit. That's literally it. Like, that's how capitalism works. But see, we don't know that. We don't know that. Let's go.
The biggest thing that destroyed the black family, because prior to that, we were still unified and we were moving. We were doing what you said. There was a community base. We're going to make sure that you're okay. Before crack came into my community, every door next door to me was open. We walked in and we lived like a community.
Hold on, let me read this comment. 369 says, Qube, question. Do you believe that we as blacks would do the same jobs as the immigrants, such as farming, or is it based on wages? Just asking because I think we not really going to do it. Peace. Okay, well, I'll answer it like this, and I'll be as honest as I can. The majority of black people, we're not interested in doing farming. We're not interested. Like America as a whole, we're not an agricultural society to where people wake up or people are taught or people are pushed into agriculture. That's number one. Like Americans, we're not pushed into agriculture. So that's number one. Number two, farming has a negative connotation associated with it when you're talking about black people. It just has a negative connotation. Thirdly, I will say this though. When you talk about, when you say, do you believe that we as blacks would do the same jobs as immigrants? If it's based on wages, yes, we would do those fucking jobs in a heartbeat. We would do those jobs. Because if we were to flip this society on its head, which you know won't happen in the vein that I'm talking about, but if the society was flipped on its head to where agriculture was number one instead of banking, like banking and tech is number one. Like that's how America makes its money is banking and tech. But if you were to flip that over to where agriculture was number one, black people would be doing that shit just like white folks would be doing it, like anybody trying to come here. Like the same shit that you see in tech right now, to where people are trying to come to America to work in tech, people will be trying to come here to work in our agricultural society. Like they would be trying to come here. If agriculture was the mainstay or the money making apparatus, black people would do it. And for motherfuckers that's telling you no, they're a lie. They're a goddamn lie. Because if you went into banking or if you went into tech and if you were making what people in agriculture make, 30, 40,000 a year, but I can go into farming and make $200,000, $300,000 a year, yeah, niggas is going into farming all day, every day. Don't let people lie to you. That's like asking, would black people work at McDonald's if McDonald's decided to actually pay people what their profits were? So if McDonald's decided to ever split profits equally, you would have the average person working at McDonald's making over $200,000 a year by 4 or 5 years working there. It'll be filled with black people. Well, let me take that back. It wouldn't be filled with black people. It would be filled with white people. It wouldn't be any teenagers, none of this shit. No. Because when you look at the profits and the amount of money that McDonald's makes, they should be paying as a salary just starting off. They should be paying every person, no matter if they just working fries all day or flipping burgers all day. They should be paying them $80,000 off the fucking rip. Off the rip, they should be getting paid $80,000. And after 4 or 5 years, you could be making $200,000 just doing that little bullshit basic job. Man, niggas would be doing it left and right. Left and fucking right. It'll be like one of these jobs to where like, oh man, you got to go to school, and they'll turn it into some shit to where you got to go and get an education to even work there. They'll start to do that type of shit. So yeah, the answer is yes. Blacks will start farming if the money was in agriculture, but the money is just not in agriculture.
We actually lived like a community. We were able to walk into our neighbors' doors and get sugar. We were able, my grandmother and grandfather, my family, we had family meetings where we had the susu, where we put money in and we had family businesses. So when crack came in, you couldn't trust your own family member because once they got the money, they wasn't going to come back to it. So I don't think SNAP was the biggest thing that destroyed the black family. I think drugs, and that was an intentional thing by the government to destroy the black family.
Okay, very good. So My challenge with folks who often take your position, and your position can very much so be described as a liberal position. I don't suggest that to put myself on the other side as a conservative. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, a liberal or a conservative.
He has no idea what the fuck liberalism is. To say that's a liberal position, he has no idea what the fuck liberalism is. And see, this is what it is for me with these people. You know, and I get it if you just having a off the cuff conversation, you know, but he's supposedly having a debate. He's supposedly well studied. You know, like, how the fuck do you not understand what liberalism is? He's trying to pigeonhole liberalism into a left or a right thing, a conservative or a Democrat thing. Like, nigga, no. Both sides are fucking liberal, nigga. Like he just has no idea of what this behemoth of what this thing that's called liberalism fucking is. Like, he doesn't know that fucking conservatives are liberal. Like, he doesn't understand like that basic fact. Like, if you were to ask him like what is liberalism, he would have no fucking idea of what that is. He would have no idea what it is. He would probably point to left-wing talking points, or democratic talking points, and try to dress that up as liberalism. Bro, you don't know what the fuck that shit is. And if you don't know what that is, then how the fuck can you understand neoliberalism? Like, it's just so bad faith to me, and I don't think he's attempting to be bad faith. I just think that he's ignorant of what these things are in the grand scope, which is not allowing him to be honest. Damn, this is bad.
Conservative. I just follow this ism. Marquettism is for the kids. Marquettism saves lives. Now, let's talk about this piece. So we agreed earlier that the government is for the rich. I think we can probably also agree that the government is, and always has been in the United States, organized for and controlled by white people. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if the government is for the rich, and you said black people are not the rich in this country, if the government is organized for the benefit of white people, organized by white people, and black people are in fact black, which color-wise would be opposite of white people, then why is it that your idea is using government benefits, which is to say using the benefit from the enemy or from the person or the group that doesn't care about you? How would you think that that would benefit you? It's nonsensical. Furthermore,
no, it's not. It's not nonsensical, because even when you go back as far as you can, when you look at the documents that supposedly created this country, none of those documents talk about none of that shit that you're talking about. None of those documents mention anything that you're talking about, bruh. But when it comes, They were trying to do a thing as a people by subjugating other people. It had nothing to do with white or black people. These things that you're talking about, bro, these were amendments. These were amendments, and then subsequently there were also amendments that changed these things, that allowed black people to do things. So when it says all men were created equal, nigga, it meant just fucking that. But white people went in there and tried to amend this shit because they're like, hold on. We want to subjugate these people. So they went in and put in amendments. And then after that, we came in and then by us rioting and doing other shit, we forced other amendments to cancel those out. So he's trying to make it seem like, oh, this was only for white people. And no, that's not what the fuck it was, bruh. That's not what it was. Because if that was the case, then why was it that in the 1800s, black people were allowed to vote? What the fuck did they have to do? Listen, this dude, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Why is it in the 1800s, after slavery, black people were allowed to vote? Why is that? It's because in the Constitution, we were allowed to fucking vote. But what they did was they started to institute things like you got to be able to read on a certain level. You have to be able to have this or have that. They started to change what it was for us to be able to vote. So he's trying to make it seem like, oh, it was by white people, instituted for white people. No. If you keep up that bullshit, it wasn't white people. It was just white men. And then if we go further, it was only white men who were able, who had land, who could vote. So he's wrong on everywhere he places his fucking shoe. Like, he's wrong everywhere. You're wrong everywhere, bruh. You're not even remotely close. Yo, this is crazy. But he's trying to pigeonhole Mysonne and to say, well, this is a society that was created by white people and it was only supposed to be for white people. So why would you want something from these same white people? Well, objection. These same white people, they caused harm to my people and they should pay. Crazy shit.
More, it suggests a level of inferiority. Not that the white man believes you're inferior, but that you believe you're inferior, such that you must rely on the government handout. Furthermore, you reference the
So Elon Musk. So hold on, just so I have this understood. Elon Musk, when he gets his $400 million to send rockets up into the atmosphere that blows the fuck up and never goes anywhere. When he gets that money, does he feel inferior? He's not spending his own money to do that. He's spending you and my money to do that shit. The taxes we pay, he's spending that money to send those rockets up that blow up and don't go any fucking where. Is he feeling any remorse? No, he's not feeling any remorse because he ain't paying for this shit. But we look at this shit and we say, damn, wow, what a waste of fucking money. We gave this motherfucker $400 million and this is what he did with it. But what you're trying to tell me is conversely, people are looking at us, poor people, and say, hey, you know what? These motherfuckers are receiving benefits that they shouldn't receive. How? Rich and wealthy people get all of this money. Don't pay taxes. And they don't give a fuck about you. But we're supposed to be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to take those SNAP benefits this year because, hey, man, I just got to pull myself up by my bootstraps and just kind of do something better. Nigga, please. Take that fucking marketing tool or whatever you talk about and tell Elon Musk that shit. He's going to laugh at your ass. Like, nigga, please, I'm not spending my own money. Why would I spend my own money when I can spend yours? Why would I spend my own money when I can spend yours? Why is Donald Trump giving tax benefits to the wealthiest of all people? Why is he doing that? Oh, let me guess. Because the wealthiest of us all create jobs. Bullshit. If we don't give these people this money, these people are going to leave. They're going to take their companies and they're going to leave. Well, hold on. Let me ask a question. Let's say we don't give the tax breaks to T-Mobile. Let's say we don't give the tax breaks to T-Mobile. What's the worst that can happen? Where is T-Mobile going to go? Oh, you're going to go to Europe? You're going to go to China? You're going to go to the fucking Caribbean? Well, leave. And you know what we're going to do? We're just going to create a nationalized fucking telephone system, cell phone system, to where everybody can get the shit for $10 a month. just like they have in China. Motherfuckers don't pay all of these exorbitant of fucking amounts of money to have fucking cell phones. They don't pay all of this money to have internet how we do. They're not paying $70, $80 for internet, $70, $80 for their phone. They're not paying that stuff. Because China has nationalized this shit. They're like, no, they understand that everybody needs it. And because everybody needs it, everybody gets it. But here in America, if you don't have enough money to pay for your cell phone, guess what? You don't have it. If you don't have enough money to pay for your internet, guess what? You don't have it. You're screwed. You're fucked. So let these people leave. So you mean to tell me all of these fucking, all of this infrastructure that they've built over the last 20, 30 years, just because we're now taxing them 90%, they're just going to dig up their shit out of the fucking ground and leave? They're going to dig up their shit out of the ground and leave. No. Do you know how much money it's going to cost them to, A, dig up all of these huge pieces of infrastructure that they have, and then pick that up and try to take it to another country that already has some shit in place? This is what I don't understand about like stupid American people. Oh, well, if we started taxing, the billionaire companies and all of that, they'll just pick up and leave. Oh, okay. So Walmart with fucking 5,000, 10,000 stores all across America, what are they going to do? Either they going to pay like they fucking weigh, or they're not. And if you don't pay, you go out of business. If you do pay, you get to keep your business, but you don't get to make $500 billion a year. You get to make $100 billion a year. Everybody that works for you gets paid a living wage, so you go from $500 billion a year to $100 billion a year. And that $400 billion, it makes sure that it takes care of everybody. It takes care of everybody. Stop it. Oh, these countries are going to, like when Mamdani got elected in New York City. Oh, the billionaires are going to leave. Okay, and go where? Get up, leave, and go where? Stop it.
Jews and other groups that are utilizing the welfare benefit system. Well, obviously, mathematically, being that blacks are overrepresented at 200%, there's obviously some groups that are underrepresented. And I think that's worth considering. Furthermore, the Jews are actually categorized as white and have been for some time, especially since the data started being recorded when these public benefits were given out. Now, with regards to the black community, what they're lacking today and in times past, especially during the time of the crack epidemic, which, destroyed many of our families, mine included, is ideology. You see, the reason I say that there's no such thing as a black community is because communities have a lot of things in common, but core things. You mentioned the Jews earlier. It's a great example. They have religion. They have language. They live in proximity. They don't allow outsiders in. They have patriarchy. They have their own hospitals. They have their own policing force, and they have a strict system of belief, and they don't snitch and rat on each other. And also, they don't rely on the outsiders, the goyim. Whereas conversely, you're kind of describing all of the opposite things for black people. You're describing the idea that we should rely on the government, which has been our open enemy since we arrived here on a slave ship named Jesus. Black people, some are Muslims, some are Christians, some are atheists. They don't have a uniformity in the religion. Black people don't have their own language. Our folkways, mores, and our music and culture has been commercialized and stolen from us. And that's precisely why there has to be one system that dominates. And because black people are very effeminate as a mass, very soft.
So there has to be one system that dominates, but he wants the same system that dominates today is the same system that caused the enslavement of black people. He wants that system of capitalism to dominate. Because white people had no fucking use for black people for the what, the 5,000 years of history before that. They had no use of African people. But all of a sudden, when capitalism comes into place, now they have a use. When colonialism comes in, now they have a use. But he wants that same system that dominated black people, he wants that system to reign supreme. Nigga, stop.
Often emotional, they have trouble accepting the fact that something must dominate to unify us into what would rightly be described as a community. Furthermore, you speak of the idea that blacks need welfare and they need government assistance. And if you were to only look at the 54 states of Africa, and you find every one of them is accepting foreign aid, also known as welfare and assistance, from whom? From the same group, which is the...
Hold on. They're accepting foreign aid, but they're also being extorted by the fucking World Bank, the IMF. So everything that they're getting, everything for the little bit that they're getting, 10 times the amount is being taken out of their fucking countries. For the little bit that they're getting, 10 times the amount is being taken out of their fucking countries. So he lacks awareness to even understand geopolitics. This is crazy to me. This is actually crazy to me.
To say the West, the whites, and they're all failing because government assistance is not designed to get you off of it. And even though you think it's benefiting the black people, it is actually not. It's making...
Pause. Government assistance was designed to get you off of it. And see, this is how much of a numbskull that he is, because when you look at after World War II, you saw what America gave Germany. They gave them the Marshall Plan. What was the Marshall Plan? To where America, even though these motherfuckers were racist Nazis, America totally rebuilt their fucking society. Totally rebuilt their society. Germany would not be what it is today had not America spent the hundreds of millions of dollars that they did. And they didn't just give them money. No. That's not what happened. When you delve into the Marshall Plan, what they did was they gave them people to work. They gave them instruments, machines to help build, and then they gave them loans. So he's full of shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Even though Germany was supposedly the enemy of the United States, but it was a white country. So what America did was they instituted the Marshall Plan to rebuild. But the only reason they chose to rebuild is because they wanted to use Germany as a satellite city so they can extract resources. But Germany, they would extract resources from Germany, but Germany would also extract their resources from where? From Africa. So when you look at the Berlin Conference that went on at the end of the 1800s, you look at it and you don't see America anywhere. You don't see America anywhere. You don't when they chopped up Africa and they gave all of these, when they decided to give themselves, when they decided to give themselves pieces of the African continent, why don't you see America anywhere? Why don't you see America anywhere? The reason for that is because they were using these other European countries as satellite cities. So no matter what the fuck a Germany that took out of Africa, they would then take it from them. They would then take those resources from Germany, leave Germany with a little bit. Where were the Marshall Plans for Africa? So no, Africa is getting aid